That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Another episode of Everything at Random. Here we are doing it again. And we're going to call this episode Behind the Scenes of My Greatness with a little eye roll included. All
I
right.
like that.
I'm joined here with an amazing individual, a great friend of mine, somebody I met a while ago. I trained him in a previous job that I had, and he's just grown into this amazing individual. Jordan, love you. Let the world know who you are.
Much respect.
You feel me? Let's start off with the basics. Like, you know what I mean? Who you are, what brings you here, what's the layers of who you are.
I like that. I like that. Well, first off, just want to say thank you again. Jay's been my man since 2019. Young little 19-year-old boy that just super ambitious and just waiting waiting for opportunity. You know what I mean? But Jordan Torres, I go by Hoda. Got the got the name right here. I'm Dominican, first gen out here, raised in Somerset, Central Jersey, Rutgers graduate, currently assistant vice president strategy at Barclays. You know the vibes, man. We just working hard. I'm also in a fraternity, La Unidad Latina, so I do my due diligence there. I'm also leading efforts in the Latin Resource Group at Barclays. So just trying to do as much for the culture. That's something that's always been big with me. Even when I started up at Apple a couple years ago, try to help out every Spanish speaker like no tomorrow, man, and really give them that experience that they deserve, and just trying to push the Dominican diaspora forward. So that's me.
I love that, man. And then you touched upon about the career path that you're on now. How many promotions have you gone through so far, my guys?
Yeah, man.
Joining the company that you're at.
You know what? I'll bring it back even more, right? I look at it at 2019, like I was a sales guy, right? Like I started from the bottom, just going up the ranks. So I was pleased to get an internship per se at Apple for 6 months, which was cool. Got to work on the App Store. That was cool, but hiring freezes, and I always had this this growth mindset, and ended up taking a contract in New York for about 9 months. So I was running distribution for Miller in Queens. So that was cool, man. Just I see you have a MLB cap. We had a partnership with the Mets. Just getting to work with them and Bev was dope. But after that, I saw opportunity in corporate banking. I'm a smart guy, so I was like, you know what, let's do it. But I really didn't know what I was getting into, so I got into financial operations, dealing with like $1 million accounts. Like, it was crazy. So I did that for 9 months, and I got promoted quick, man, and moved into a strategy space, working with employee value proposition, which is basically why does a corporation or what does a corporation do to keep their people in the front lines, right?
Mhm.
So working in the strategy space right now, and looking forward to eventually moving into the VP space, deciding whether to stay in strategy or if not, human resources. So
That's beautiful, man. But what brings us here, because we want to talk about grit. We want to talk about all these things. So you have defined some odds. Was there any moment that you thought like, wow, I'm pretty much invincible? Or did you secretly think like the universe was cursing you, or anything like that? Was you still able to manage to stay on top or stay positive in these times?
yeah,
Like, reaching up those ladders, it's not easy.
yeah. Um, I appreciate that question, because when I saw it earlier, although I could give you a positive answer, although what I was doing was in a positive light, I eventually it was like leading to my demise. Like, I remember just being 19 years old, pretty much broke, and then getting opportunity where now I'm making good money. Now I'm killing it in school. I'm making much more than people around me, and having that money, having that success so quick at that age, it got to me. It got to my head. Like I really thought I was invincible. You know what I mean? And COVID really was like, yo, you're nobody, my guy. You know what I mean? Like, sit back. You're a 19-year-old. You know what I mean? Like, there's like I thought I peaked. You know what I mean? And um, it then spiraled into to depression. To oh man, like once everything like COVID froze everything, I wasn't able to hustle as much as I could anymore.
Yeah.
So like not having that success every day like really affected me. Um, so once everything started rolling back, you know what I mean. I got the spiritual awakening again. I was raised Catholic, but um, I got to go to this retreat, this Catholic retreat, and really confess my sins for the first time, and
Hmm.
that whole feeling of like feeling better than somebody like just wasn't me. You know what I mean? And I always remember that young aspiring kid that I knew I was. Like I went back to that place, and regardless as I move up, I'm never gonna forget who I am and my roots and my core. So. I hope to answer the question, but I want to make it at the top. I think it's Kanye's mom said it best. Is like, yo, like you can make it to the top and still have your feet on the ground. You know what I mean? And that's what I got from it.
I got you. I love the fact that you brought it back to COVID because I feel like a lot of people were affected by that. Like, and it seems like everybody was affected by that. Everybody I've been speaking to about it, it's like it was like a reality check. Like,
Yeah,
you had to sit there with yourself. You had to figure out things, and when you turn off all the noise outside, like you had to like, holy fuck,
you gotta face yourself.
yeah. And I don't think no. I challenge you if you if COVID didn't really affect you, sit in a room by yourself, no phone, no nothing, and sit there with a mirror and then really think about who you are and where you want to go and if you're whatever you're doing, like are you happy with it?
Yo, for sure, for sure.
But like though, like I love the fact that you reached out somewhere else because that's a path that I never thought about going. Like I'm raised Catholic. You know what I mean? I did all
Yeah,
my things and it's been on my mind to go to a church and maybe confess my sins, maybe confess the things because going through therapy, doing all the exercise and feeding the void of loneliness or hanging out and filling your room up with people, it still doesn't feel
oh,
like
dude. Yeah.
it's all there.
Me, especially me being like super social. Like when
Oh,
I would be by
this guy,
myself, you know what I mean?
ladies and gentlemen, this guy, amazing dancer. Every time I see him on Instagram or anything, like this guy is just out here doing it up. I didn't and once again, I didn't even know you was feeling these things.
Yeah, man.
Me, it looks and that's I want everybody to know, like what it looks like what we put out there. It's not like we make these loud noise of how good it is, but we are dealing
Crazy,
some shit.
crazy. But with that, like, and I don't mean to get too religious, but I
No.
do believe that God uses vessels, and like, um, especially when I was working with you, like, there was days where I put a smile on, but yo, deep down inside, like, I was feeling like shit. You know what I mean? And I'm big on not letting what I'm hurting to affect somebody else, right? Like if I'm hurting, I don't want you to hurt. So I'd rather put a smile on my face.
Yeah.
And if you're hurting, I want you to feel even better, right? Like because I know what I'm going through, and I would have wished that on my worst enemy. But have a quick little story, a little remark. Like I remember just feeling down, and like this random customer just came up and like had one of those old iPods. You know how it was, like,
Yeah, yeah,
sir, like call customer service. Like we really can't help you. I'm not that type of guy. I'm like, yo, what's up? Like let's figure this out. And like obviously we couldn't do anything. It was like a super old iPod,
yeah.
whatever. But he's like, yo, you look sad, man. You look. I'm like, yo, how though? Like I was really good at and this guy's like, nah, man. Like your aura, I could feel it. Like, And he's like, yo, listen to Clint Brown. I'm like, he's like this Christian singer, whatever.
Hmm.
And on the ride back, I'm like, whatever. I'm listening to my usual bachata, Romeo, and I'm
Yeah.
like, yo, Clint Brown. So I start listening to his music, and like At Your Feet came up, and like I started crying on my way back, and like I want to be like you, like all these worshiping songs, and actually got me into like worship music and just I don't know, just feeling better about myself. Actually, not bottling my emotions anymore, like being able to talk to my people, how do I feel and shit. So, I could that's a little quick anecdote of just God using vessels, man, and I try to be that vessel every day. So,
I love that. So I will be having, and hopefully you watch another soon to come episode. I'm gonna have somebody who's a pastor or well known,
hey,
somebody who's in the church and has his own podcast. He'll be coming on and talking about how, like, spiritually, like that, how that guided him and stuff like that. And I love
I'll
that
be,
we're getting into this.
I'll be
Um,
tuning in, baby. That's dope.
oh yeah, but with all these things going on and finding your spiritual guide and finding that inner thing that's going to drive you and finding that inner child who was thriving before, like, what about mentorship? Like,
Yeah,
mentorship is something that's very important. And I know in ways we just talked about this before I got on, like how mine, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but like how I helped you and maybe other individuals have helped you. I want to talk about
for
that
sure.
mentorship and how important it is to you. And do you feel as though at times are you doing that same thing for others?
For sure. Um, so first off, right, like I gotta mention you. Like you're the I know usually we pick out one or two, but in life we have so many, right? Like we just don't notice. But like in certain chapters of my life, like at my Apple career, like I could say, like you're on top of that list, right? Like from day one, right? That beautiful introduction of like, yo, make sure you get into the stock, right? Because look, these are the benefits 5 6 years later, right?
Mhm.
Yo, pay attention to this, right? Because this season, this is what customers are looking for. Like, yo, you was telling me things that was like, yo, like it's day one, but I'm already on day 90, right? And like, I love that. I love that because I was ready to have these conversations, right? And I guess I just needed that figure there to be like, yo, this is just what it is, right? And not only did I pick that up, right, but then, I started preaching that, right? Like when people be like, damn, Jordan, your Apple Care numbers is crazy. I would share my success stories. You know me, bro. Or like I would get something. Oh, you could, we used to get, not to get too heavy into Apple metrics, but like, oh no, you could take that after a successful sale or something. Like, no, 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 you got that. Like I was never worried about my numbers, to be honest. It was always a byproduct. I was always worried about good experience, make sure people was feeling good. I'm telling you, when you work like that, the numbers will show. Like, I'm
Mhm.
telling you. So shout out to you. I know I'm not the only one that when one person says it might be crazy, but when 100 people say it,
Yeah.
then be like, there's some truth behind it, right? Um, but I want to mention two mentors that in college, Professor Cohen in accounting, man, he taught one of the hardest classes at Rutgers. Just to put it into context, like first day of class was probably like 200 people. He was like, "Yo, 40% of y'all are gonna fail my class." Yo, everybody's just looking at each other like,
The fuck?
40, like, yo, 200. How much is that? Like 80 people? You're telling me 120 people? And I was sitting kind of like mid mid. It was like a lecture hall mid thing, and he by tradition always opened up. He was a big baseball guy, big Yankee guy. He actually sits or used to sit on the accounting board for the Special Warriors Foundation with the Yankees. So um, he used to always open up, the new lecture with the baseball question. He asked the question about a big scandal that happened in baseball back in the 1900s. Nobody raised their hand. I was like, oh, the 1919 Black Sox scandal with Shoeless Joe Jackson, and he was like, wait, what? Like he never had a student like answer one of his old, baseball questions, whatever. After class, he's like, you kid, come down here, whatever. And I'm like, he's like, yo, what's your name? I'm like, I'm Jordan, whatever. He's like, I want you to sit front row next class. And I'm like, damn. In my head, I'm like, yo, I'm not trying to sit front row. Like, I'm trying to finesse up here. You know what I mean? Like, um, and then I knew lots of. I was pretty popular on campus, and that next lecture, I go sit in my mid row. And he's like, no, no, no. front row, like right here. And the power of influence, he told me after that class, because when I sat in that front row, lots of the people's my friends, they also moved to the front row with me. And that day he mentioned there's a direct correlation with grades from whoever sits in the front row to the back row.
Mhm.
And then he asked me, Jordan, who do you think gets the A in the class? The kid sitting all the way in the back or the kid sitting in the front? I was like, yo, the front.
Yeah.
He's like, you got that right. So I knew at that moment, like, yo, I have the power to influence. Like, my man just told me, yo, sit in the front row. Now I got people that was probably going to fail, were probably going to do bad. Now they're in the front row. Now they're paying attention. They're asking questions just like me. Like, I used to go to like tutoring sessions. First couple of days, like 2-3 people. Next thing you know, we have a band of like 10, 15 heads, you know, taking tutoring sessions with me. You know what I mean? And we became really good friends. It was although I didn't pursue accounting, which he got mad at me. But through him, I learned the power of influence. I learned the power of asking extra questions, of asking why, right? Like asking why. And like, he was so cool, man. And like a lot of people were hating him. You would check Rate My Professor, horrible comments about him. And I really got to know him, you know what I mean? And he actually introduced me to my second mentor, being that eventually I moved into supply chain, which is my undergrad. And he used to sit right by my next mentor. So like if I had to make that first connection, it was just across like, yo, like I've learned so mentorship, but sponsorship, right?
Mhm.
Is when somebody fucks with you and says, yo, this kid's it, bro. Make sure you pay attention. Make sure, yo, he's trying to get to the next level. Like not only is he gonna help you out, but he's gonna connect you with other people that you may be looking for. And the next professor, his name is Professor Sutterly. Professor Sutterly was that guy, man. He when I had no money, man, he gave me a job on campus. I was super grateful for that. And recipes to my grandmother, but she always says it's better to owe money than to owe obligations with somebody. And in that moment when I had nothing, and he was able to give me a job and support myself, now I had obligations for life for him. Like to this day, like he's retired and I still give him a call here and there. You know what I mean? And like he tells me like, yo, like why do you do this? And yo, I do this out of love. You know what I mean? And through him, you know, he's the one that really was like, yo, if you really try to get to that next level, you have to get a mentor who you can emulate, who's already in that position. So by the time you get to that position, it's nothing new. It's not day one, it's day 90 again. You know what I mean? It's like, yo, you already know the moves, right? So there's really no way to fail, right? So that mentorship is everything to me. And like now I'm about to turn the big 26, like I can see, you know, lots of students now seeking mentorship from me or hitting me up on LinkedIn, hitting me up on IG, like, yo, can we set up a 30-minute chat? I need help with my resume. I need help with interview. And I do this all for free. You know what I mean? And I know God finds his way to repay me back with great people, with great vibes, great experiences, with health. So that's how I see it.
I love that, man. I love that I'm starting to notice a trend. Like the last person I interviewed and had a conversation with, it's a lot of these professors that are helping out, and these people who make an impact in the community are always willing to help. Um, do you find yourself being that person at times?
Yeah, yeah, all the time, all the time. I feel that you know from a young age, I've been this vessel for a greater cause of as much as I want to make it about, it's not about me, right? Like, and I mentioned earlier, you know, about continuing the Dominican diaspora, right? Like,
Yeah.
my ancestors paved the way for me to this point, like, and like I got it easy, right? Like, my grandfather is 97 right now in the Dominican Republic, horrible eyesight, right? Because of all the years he dealt in the farm and cosechando and just providing for my family, right? To the point where then my mom came, emigrated, right? Like not knowing English, blah, 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 you know, was a janitor for 30 years for me to be where I'm at, right? Although, okay, I was the first to get, to graduate from college, to be an AVP at a bank, like that is very small to what my grandfather did or to what my
So,
great grandfather did, right? Not having anything, and it's not about me. It's just a part of that lineage,
yep.
right? Of who's next. So I'm just trying to do my due diligence so that I wouldn't say we don't have to struggle. It's just a different struggle, right? Because the struggling has already passed per se, right? I think it's a moment of how can we conquer now? How can we conquer? How can we share our stories? So that's where we're at.
I love that. I love that. With all this going on, and you touched upon it a little bit, we're gonna dig into mental health because that's been my thing.
Hey, super
I'm,
important.
I'm not gonna I'm not gonna lie. Like I told you before I got on here, I've been going through my own shit and learning from every person I interact with, or let it be from the past or bringing you onto the show now. Like it's helping me look at the world differently. It's helping me like deal with the stuff that I'm dealing with, but also who's ever listening. It's helping them figure out maybe I can do this or I'm not alone. I'm not the only one feeling this way. Uh, and like I said, mental health is a roller coaster of emotions. How do you juggle your mental health well being and embracing these life challenges? And be real. If you
As
have
as I
a
take a deep
secret
breath,
stash of your fucking salsa dances or whatever you're doing out there to get by, cool. But like share that. Like how do you
yeah.
like you touched
As
on it. Let's go.
as you ask that, and I take a deep breath because it's like, growing, and I guess I want to bring it up, as Latinos, right? Like, it's not because our parents didn't care, right? And the way we were raised was very, mano dura, like, hey, stop crying, like, guys, you know what I mean? Like, this machismo culture, whatever. Like, it's not because they didn't want to, right? Like, it's like it was part of what was brought up, right? Like in the lineage again, and like now we're woke culture, right? We're talking about this, which is important. But you know, sometimes it really takes for you to fall down and hit rock bottom to notice how important mental health is, and taking breaks, and using things outside of work or day to day to get your mind right. And for me, it's music. Um, a couple years ago, I got into classical Spanish balada music, which is like a kid of my age. I'm supposed to be listening to dembow and all that,
Yeah, yeah,
which
yeah.
I do. Bachata, merengue típico, trap, rap, hip hop, like yo, you name it. But when I'm by myself, yo, I be listening to Luis Miguel, Ricardo Montaner, Ricardo Arjona, just to name a little. Like yo, these folk music that I could like relate to, that like when I'm concentrated and I like this, oh man, like it takes me to like a different universe, you know what I mean? And now that I got a little bit more bread than before, like now I'm able to go to these concerts, and like half these concerts I don't remember because my eyes are closed, but I do remember how I felt in those moments, right? And like um it's just, oh man, it's just beautiful to even talk about this right now. Um I bring it back. Like I did hit a point where I wasn't myself. I just was like I was out of it. And again, a vessel. Somebody hit me up on Instagram and it was like, "Yo, there's a 2 day retreat, a silent retreat." At that, I'm like, "Wait, what?" Up in a mountain, hosted by some Franciscans. Um, and I'm like, "Yo, you know what? Like, actually, I don't like this particular weekend. Like, I actually don't got anything to do." And
Mhm.
I ended up going up. It was like an hour drive, and next thing you know, I'm like in some woods or whatever. And like once I got to this like Una Loma, it was like this beautiful church, and I was just like, wow, like I felt like an oasis. Like the air felt different.
Mm.
As I walk inside, um, I, this story is gonna be based on perspective. Like when
Okay.
I walk inside, they're like, "Yo, all phones in the basket. You're not gonna use your phones for like 3 days." And I was like, "Yo, like." yeah, I'm not taking up my phone. Like, nah, man. Like, I gotta text Shorty, man. Like, IG. Like,
Yeah,
yo,
yeah.
there's a big fight this Saturday. Like, da, da, da. They're like, yo, you either give up your phone or like you could leave. And at that moment, I was like, man, just like, man, take my phone, whatever, whatever. Again, it's a silent retreat. So we had like a little charla, a little prayer, whatever. And like I'm in there, but like everybody else is there. So I'm like, I wouldn't rock with these type of people. But you know what? I'm gonna let it work. Like this again, this is God sent. Like I
Yeah.
accepted. I
Something
mean,
guided you there.
right? Something guided me here. So let me give them all. So being silent, like silent for 2 days. They told us obviously like before they told us instructions verbally, but they were like, all right, now till tomorrow, 24 hours straight, no talking. I was like, oh man, this is hard for me. You know me, Jay. I could talk,
Bro, this
man.
guy, ladies and gentlemen, this guy is a talker. This guy,
Yo,
and I love, and it's not like he's a shit talker, nothing like that. He just loves to communicate, and I'm the
yo,
same way. I don't know,
crazy,
I don't even know how I would do it.
crazy. So I'm sitting down, Jay, and um, after about like 4 or 5 hours, I hear a voice, and I'm like, oh man, this is crazy. Like my eyes are closed, and like I just start talking to God. You know what I mean? And like I'm there in silence, and like somebody taps me on my shoulder, and like I guess it was like lunchtime. They were just trying to remind me, and at that moment, it was like, oh wow, the power of silence, the power of being in tune with myself, right? Like, um, that was beautiful. You know what I mean? And um, it was just cool because the Franciscan way of life is very simple. Like when I went to grab lunch, it was like una bandita de pan, a little piece of cheese, like a little piece of ham. And at first, I'm like, yo, like I'm hungry. But after eating this, like I wasn't hungry anymore. I was Now I was thankful though for the food. Like my mood started changing, my way of thinking of like I'll tell you a story. Like
Mhm.
after the silence was over, um, the the Father Agostino, shout out to him, had said a story about a priest that had said mass at one of the most richest uh, churches in Europe, right? Like gold chalice and you
Mhm.
name it, to the point where he got moved to Asia, to a war torn country, and it was a Sunday, and he had to practice mass under a bed, right, with a small little piece of bread in his hand, and was able to perform mass, right, under late at night, gunshots. I mean, war was happening, and like in that moment, right, like he remembered back to when he was in Europe and having all that gold and all that, like all that didn't matter no more, right? Like that little moment of like that priest just having, a little dot of wine, a little piece of bread there, gave him so much great perspective of life. And um, like when I heard that story of like, wow, like I don't want to be in that gold church. I wanna live whatever that guy lived, right? Like, um, so I say that with perspective to your question as to just being thankful, man. Every day, man. Like I'm just so thankful to be alive for every breath that I take. That like, um, that's the true success. And like I try to do my best work with everybody that I meet along the way. You know what I mean? And I'm just thankful, man. Like super, super thankful.
I love that. That kind of like hit me because it's like made me realize I take for granted all the shit I have. I take for granted for everything that happens, and I don't realize like I should be grateful for the small moments of
Yeah, man.
peace, small moments of just having what I do have. I'm
Yeah,
always wanting, and I think you're listening to this. I know you're like, why are they talking so religious? And it's not about that. It's I hear you. It's that's a way, but I feel as though it's like understanding that you can want what the other man wants, but you have to appreciate what you have. You
correct.
can always work towards that. You don't want that. You work towards it. But you have to appreciate what you have,
Yeah,
and it could be the smallest thing. I don't. I want to be in that place. I love that you learned what is that word, humility or
humility,
yeah,
humility. Yeah, yeah.
to know that like. Like that priest was like, I'm okay with just this. I don't need all that. I don't need all the glitz and glamour and shit like that.
for sure. Well, and I don't want like for the users and the speakers, like I work hard, right? Because I want to live a good lifestyle for myself. Like,
Of course.
see, like I don't want to live in poverty if I don't have to, right?
Mhm.
Like I believe in the fruits of my labor. Like, um, I like to dress, right? Like I like to wear nice things, blah blah
Yeah.
blah. But the thing is, like, look, I used to always buy bags, right? I just a couple months ago bought a Louis bag. It was a couple bands, but guess what? I don't have to buy a bag no more because it's the bag. You know what I'm saying? Like that's it. Like, and I'm big on sustainability too. It's like this is something that's gonna last me for years. You know what I mean? So now I'm very much on value. I value things that I could look at and be like, wow, like I really worked towards that. Like that was a dream before, and I cherish this. You know what I mean? Like I don't gotta buy another one no more. I don't gotta have 10, 15 different bags just sitting there just cause. You know what I mean? And so I'm not saying right, like yo, it's okay to have these views, but like yo, if you gotta splurge on yourself, go ahead. Especially if you work towards it. You know what I mean? Like, what do you think? You know what I mean?
But don't want what the next man has.
Nah, nah, nah,
And don't be
nah, man.
jealous of what the next man have because you
Nah,
don't know what
yeah,
they had to go through and the work that they had to put in to get to where they're at. You know what I mean?
yo, and
I think
yo,
they
and like
appreciate the
every
journey more than what was at the end of the journey. That end of the
man, man,
journey, you was getting the bag, but
hell yeah,
I got I got a Louis bag. You know what I mean? Like I worked hard for that. That's like let's bring it back to when you probably got your first job, your first check. How good did that fucking feel?
hey.
Like you were like I got this. I did this.
Yeah. And you know what? I still remember those days, man. Like now I be cashing these checks and I'll be like, yo, I'm not gonna lie, like, damn, like it feels good. But I also don't forget 2017, every 2 weeks when I was in college, barely making it, making $200 every 2 weeks at Sunglass Hut. Like I don't forget that. That drive is still there. You know what I'm saying? That drive, that passion, that dedication is still there from 2017, right? That young boy that's ambitious is still there. That still has the good intentions, right? Like I had this one on one with my boss, who I admire very much. Um, we have uh, we have what we're doing right now once a week, where we talk freely, and I always told him I was like, I never want to lose my essence. Like sometimes people get into a particular room, particular role, and they lose their essence. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Of who they was, and like the money gets to them, the position, the power. Obviously, I hope to have that, but never to lose my essence and always be that the service first type person, and very much giving.
Love that, man. I appreciate you. Um, so close your eyes real quick for me. All right. Picture this. You're giving a TED talk to a room full of determined souls. What's the golden nugget of wisdom about overcoming obstacles and chasing your dream? Would you drop on them or leave them with, awe? Like what would you say to them? Just like, boom, this is what it is. That room is filled. This is your TED talk. This is your moment. Through all the things that you went through, you're meant to the like seeing what your family came from, where you're at right now.
The power of love, man. The power of love, and all that you do. Um, I just, when you mentioned that, my grandmother, rest in peace. Um, well, I'm still mourning. It's only been a year and a half. Um,
Sorry.
I appreciate it. But you know what? Although she may have passed, you're seeing a reflection of her, and
That's
the
beautiful.
power of love, man. Like there's no obstacle too big for what my grandmother faced. Like being from a poor country, I learned, with the little that you have, is with greater power the more that you give, right? And I've been to rich homes where they don't even offer you a glass of water, and you go to a poor home, Whether I've seen that testament of that in Cuba when I visited the older city Havana, where they give me everything.
Yeah.
They gave me the room they were sleeping in, and um, I was just so grateful for them. And the power of love, the power of when you see somebody, regardless of just who it is, just people always say like like respect, like, oh, you gotta respect people. I'm big on this saying that says the word respect was created where love is supposed to be. I'll say it again. The word respect was created where love is supposed to be. When you think about that, when you respect somebody, there's boundaries, right? You can't talk about a certain, or you love somebody, right? Like, um, I get goosebumps right now. Like I really don't have words, right? Like it's a feeling. It's like my heart's full with joy just even talking about this. And as we overcome our struggles, um, you start meeting people along the way that have gone through it. So with the power of love, they'll be able to support you and help you out, right? And I hope to be one of those soldiers along the way, right? That you meet, and I may not have all the answers, but at least I can leave you with that little antidote to continue on to your journey. Um, so that's probably what my TED Talk will be about: the power of love, the power of just being a good human, right? Being a good human, like that.
I
That's
love
just
that.
what it is, man. Like regardless of all the success, all that, man. Like this is all we got, man. And I guess I'll end that with that.
We're gonna wrap it up, my guy. We don't. I hate saying goodbye, but I want you to leave everybody. I know it's another thing to leave people with, but let's just see you later speech. What you want to leave? Not your TED talk, but this is not just that audience. This is everybody. Like, what do you want to say? Your see you later.
See you later. I'll leave you guys with this again. It's just like a resonant. Just everybody has a diaspora, and I've been using that word much more. And diaspora is I don't like the word struggle, right? But it's the path of your respective life or of people. Like when for me, being Dominican, every time I see Latinos, Dominicans, even like Black people, Asians, like that share my common struggle, that's love, baby, love, man. And like it's just for me, it's a pleasure to meet people, especially in workspaces, wherever it may be. Um, just be true to yourself. You know what I mean? And don't at no moment, right? Have I told you like, um, I met this person because I wanted more money or because I like, nah, man. If you do that, that's your own demise, man. You chase the money, you could go bankrupt. But you chase love, you chase knowledge, yo, you got that for life. You know what I mean? And um, when you're a good human, right? When you do the right thing when nobody's looking, I'm telling you, God's gonna find His way to repay you, and it may not be financially, man. Con salud, con amor, comprensión. I'll leave that. But yeah,
Thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time.
Jay, I got again. I know much respect. I've been wanting to do this for 4 years, but now was the right time.
Yeah.
4 years ago, this conversation would probably been 100% different.
Hmm.
My mind was not in a bad place, but it wasn't who I aspired to be. Right, I was, I guess, a little money hungry. You know what I mean? I wanted to move up fast, but we gotta be patient, give time, and this was the perfect time to have this conversation.
And I appreciate having this conversation. A friend of mine just recently told me it's people want things when they want it, but not when it's
Hey,
when it's ready for them.
I saw that, and he repeated it twice.
Yeah,
I like.
and as shit was that shit impacted me because it's like we all want these things, but are we ready for these things? You know what I mean? And I think this speech and everything you just told me, and to know that you went through some hard times, and we didn't really touch upon it, but just a little bit, but just to know that you felt somewhat what I felt, or what somebody who's listening felt, and you was able to push through, and you found something to help you get there. and you shared that, I just want you to know that you probably made an impact on somebody listening. May not be today, may not be tomorrow, whatever it is, but you making that impact. And I appreciate you doing what you're doing, not only for the Latino community, but for yourself. So like that's one of the hardest things that we do is like you see how I am. I'm like I don't want to take praise for anything. We never do, but I need you to know like at times you need to step back and be like I am doing these things.
For
I am
sure.
doing the right thing because you have to, the best love is that self love.
Yeah, I love that.
Mhm.
And Jay, just one last thing for you. You're a vessel, man. You're a vessel. You may not see that, man, but you are, right? And the messages you convey are everything I've just mentioned, right? And you're a testament to somebody who I respect, love, and admire. And I just hope for your continued success and hope to be here along the way to see it.
I appreciate you, man. That just hit me. All right, guys, we're gonna end it on that. I'm getting a little choked up. I appreciate it.
My God,
Um,
much respect.
we'll see you next time, ladies and gentlemen. Like, subscribe, follow. If not, you know what I mean? You
Have a
just
good
know
one.
that we always will be here no matter what. You know what I
That's
mean? I was gonna say fuck off, but like leave it
yo,
up.
honestly, yo, if they not with that, they can fuck off, bro.
They can fuck off.
All
All right.
right,
Later.
yo.